Hey, it's Fox from Inferno Fox Gaming. So, JMeowls, Jason the 13th, and myself have just gotten back from Too Many Games, which was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it's a really fantastic video game convention where there's lots of shopping, arcades, some panels, signings by various voice actors, and more. We found the convention center with no issues. There was like barely any line, which of course makes sense since it was like 1 hour or so into the convention that Friday. Once we got our 3-day passes, it was right to the shopping floor. One of the things that I've noticed with these conventions is that like some of the best stuff usually is available most on the first day, especially if it's like a 3-day one like Too Many Games was. And I was really sort of afraid of missing out some of the most rarest stuff. So I ended up deciding to say, I'm going to focus on shopping first and foremost. And I had to skip the SpawnCast panel that was scheduled for, I believe it was 4:30 their time. And I watched the SpawnCast that's on every Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Time, as well as the morning newscast that SpawnWave does at 7 a.m. Central. But the cool thing was I actually got to meet them a couple hours later while shopping. And the funny thing is, Spawn himself, John, he's really a nice guy. I also got to meet Evan. He's kind of like the behind the scenes guy. He helps run things. Also got to meet and talk with RGT85. And you wouldn't know it, but like, he's really a sweetheart. He was really a nice guy. I don't know if his edibles were kicking in and he was just mellow and just super talkative. Really had a great experience with them. Just a huge shout out to RGT for being super mellow and really easygoing. But it was really cool to meet those guys. Thought that was great. So we ended up doing like a total of about 3 to 4 hours of shopping that first day. That was really the main focus. Figured that we would catch really anything else that we wanted to do the next day. We, about 7 or 8 p.m., decided to call it a day, grab some dinner, went back to the hotel. And the next day, we were able to take our time. Before we went to the convention, though, because that opened up at 11, we decided to check out Classic Game Junkies in Glenside, PA, and they have a really cool selection of classic games from systems as early as Intellivision and Atari to, of course, as new as like PS5 and Switch. I brought some games and whatnot to trade with them, but really couldn't come to a good consensus on some of the trade-ins that I offered. And, that's okay. It's one of those things to where, not every trade has to occur, especially if one or more of the parties just really can't come to the same figures. But, like, one of the things is I brought in some strategy guides from Final Fantasy 8 through 10, and he called them manuals. I mean, they're strategy guides. Come on. But after that side quest, we went back to the convention. Jason the 13th checked out A Drive, who is a YouTuber and creator of a card game called Lestrals. So he really had a great time with that. At the end of the panel, A Drive himself stopped by and was talking to people, and Jason got couple of the card packs that he picked up at the convention signed by A Drive himself. So Jason thought that was pretty cool. Jason's got a young nephew, and he and Jason watch A Drive because his nephew again is a huge fan. So thought that was kind of cool, and it was something that I'm sure his nephew would think would be pretty neat to see. JMeowls and I, meanwhile, checked out the arcade section, and we played a number of really fun games. But I'm gonna say, even though there was like maybe 50 arcade cabinets, really decent amount, it has nothing on the Galloping Ghost arcade that we have in our area, specifically in Brookfield, Illinois. But regardless, arcades, nice that, no charge, no quarters, no nothing, play them, and we just really had a lot of fun with that. We continued shopping kind of on and off through the day, but what's really cool is I got to meet Pat Contry, and he's aka Pat the NES Punk. And he is a super nice guy, really nice guy, sort of introverted or reserved was kind of the impression that I got from him. But I did manage to sound like a complete idiot when I talked to him. Like, you ever have that out of body moment when you see yourself talk to someone and you just cringe? It was a little bit like this.
So, do you like stuff?
I did check out the first few rounds of the CTWC, or Classic Tetris World Championship in Philadelphia, which was really cool because it's essentially the NES Tetris version, like a very slightly modded one, so that it is visible to see like all the stuff and be able to start at certain like levels. The core gameplay starts at level 18, which is crazy fast, at least to me. Like, I used to think like I'm pretty good at Tetris. My best scores are probably 400,000 or 500,000. Yeah, no, they're a couple of the rounds that we saw when they started at level 18. The on average it would be about 600,000 to 700,000. The best players would hit 1,000,000 or 900,000. It was really cool. And like I'm on the edge of my seat watching everything, and on the screen where we're at, as you can see from the footage, it's 4 different screens going where it shows each of the competitors, and the top 2 people are playing each other, and then the bottom 2 people are playing each other. That way they can cycle through the actual tournament relatively quickly. And of course, it's best 2 out of 3. So really cool to see that and kind of pick up a couple little tips and everything like that. All of them kind of using that roll technique with the controller. That's pretty prevalent at this point. So really, that was a lot of fun. We sort of called it an early day after that. Grabbed some lunch, decided to check out a local mall, and then had dinner a bit after that, and then we flew back home Sunday morning. Overall, it definitely was a great trip, and we're definitely so glad that we went. The best part, though, was all of the pickups that I managed to get. And yes, it is definitely time now for some show and tell, so you guys can see all of the stuff that I have since picked up. So getting right into the pickups, the first pickups that I want to show actually wasn't something that I got from too many games. It is a Nintendo case full of Nintendo cartridges from my buddy Jabroni, and these are all the ones that he grew up with. It is including Baseball Simulator, Blaster Master, Excite Bike, Final Fantasy, Zelda 1, Marble Madness, Mega Man 2, Metroid, Rad Racer, Super Mario Bros. 1 through 3, the NES Tetris, and TMNT 1. Like, seriously, he had all of the bangers. So I was really happy that he just gave them to me, and it's because he's actually moving down to Florida. So again, Jabroni, thank you so much. All the best in your new location, especially with your new addition. Congratulations on that. I'm really happy for you guys. But you noticed with this, when I showed you, there's 2 blank slots here. That's because he had American Gladiators and Golf. Now, I'm sure they were fun for him growing up, but I'm not really like a fan of either of them. So I leveraged them to trade at the convention and got Legend of Zelda 2, Adventure of Link, and Star Tropics. And this one I paid $30. This one, surprisingly, I paid $15, and they're in pretty good condition. I'll make sure to test them out a little bit later. But these are games that I remember playing with my older brother Kevin, who unfortunately is no longer with us. So like picking these up really kind of gave me that wistful feeling and really helped me jog down like memory lane, thinking about watching him play these and be able to help him and give him tips here and there whenever, you know, being the younger brother that I was, the tips that I could give that were of use to him. But it was really cool to be able to pick these up. And again, thanks to Jabroni, I've got 2 slots to be able to fit these in, and that completes that particular carrying case. But regarding Zelda, I want to show you Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. And I picked this up for about $70, little bit of an ouch, little bit, but still really happy to have a physical copy of this because I picked up Phantom Hourglass at the last convention this year at Midwest Gaming Expo in Milwaukee. I believe it was. So really glad to have all the DS Zelda games. Almost completes my Zelda collection. Almost. What does is the Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures on the GameCube. And this is really cool because, well, I've never really played this much, and I wasn't really as interested because the whole Game Boy Advance connection to the GameCube, but I never really got into this with that. This and the next 2 pickups I got on a lump deal, like a combined deal from this particular vendor. The next one here is Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, and I've heard this is a pretty mid RPG, but I mean, come on, it's Sonic. It's Sonic's first and I guess only foray into RPGs. And the funny thing is, this vendor had 2 copies of this one and another one, and none of the others did that I had looked at up to that point and including thereafter. And neither did any at Midwest Gaming Expo. So I was really happy to be able to pick up a physical copy of this. The final one that I got lumped in with this particular vendor is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Radical Rescue for the Game Boy. And this is a really cool title. It's like a Metroidvania where you start off only as Michelangelo and you have to find the other turtles. Each of them have their own special abilities, and they then try to clear this like labyrinthian, I think it's like sewers or buildings or something like that. So kind of cool to see that. Kind of a rare Game Boy game, and I believe this was, they were charging like 80 or something like that. The Legend of Zelda, they were charging 100, and Sonic Chronicles, they were charging 35 for like a total of 215 bucks. I talked them down to 180 and they accepted. So I was really, really glad and actually really grateful for my buddy Run for teaching me that, you know, you can talk with the vendors and see if they can go lower on prices. You can, especially, they're going to be more willing to do so if you're paying in cash, because as Run says, cash is king. Now, one of the things with that is you could say, hey, I would like to pay $10 for this copy of Ultimate NES Remix for the 3DS when the sticker says 15 because it is missing its manual. And the guy, worst thing the guy could say is, no, yeah, big old smile on his face, no. In this particular instance, that's exactly how it went. And I said, oh, okay, I'll live with 15, and bought this little guy for 15. I'd seen it for anywhere from like $25 to $35 with the manual up to that point. So I figured, okay, always good to have a physical copy of what's really most known as like a digital game. So I was really glad to pick that up. Speaking of pickups for the 3DS that I'm really glad to finally have, we have Radiant Historia for the 3DS. And this is the launch edition, which has an art book, decal sheet, and more. And it's really good condition where we, of course, have the sticker book. We have the art book, really great condition. And the core game itself, got it right here. And this was something that sort of killed me because VGP had this available for sale, brand new copies that I guess Sega and Atlas were printing this past Christmas. They all sold out in 10 seconds. So yes, I ended up paying about 80 bucks. I want to say they had it listed for 90, but I talked them down to 80. And it was something where, okay, I'll end up paying double the what it was going to run on the brand new versions, but with this being the launch one, felt like it was pretty good, a pretty good deal. And again, it's not the best looking box as you can see, but again, really glad to have a physical copy of this. From what I've heard, is a fantastic game. It's definitely on my backlog to play. So we're going to kind of continue with the forward progression of systems so that I can show you some new games, some new Switch games that I've got. And one of them is Valkyria Chronicles 4 for the Nintendo Switch. This is, of course, is a tactical war strategy RPG, and it's something that I've wanted because, as petty as it sounds, my Switch collection is so big, but I don't have any games that start with the letter V. This is a perfect contender for that, since I do like RPGs, JRPGs, what have you. Cool thing with this vendor is that this game was 50 bucks. The vendor was willing to trade my brand new copy of Bravely Default 2 for this particular game. So it's really cool that vendors can be willing to work to trade existing games and everything, provided you sort of make it worth their while. And the next game, the next three actually, are games that I purchased directly from the Limited Run Games booth. And one of the things with Limited Run, besides, of course, potentially long delays with getting games and what have you. I will admit they have gotten better, is that they often get extra copies that they either sell directly through like VGP or even sometimes Amazon or Best Buy, but they always have extra copies at their local store in North Carolina and at conventions. That being said, I picked up a couple copies of, we got RZ, which is a sort of homage to the Zelda CDI game. So again, it's another like Zelda homage, as well as the Jurassic Park collection, which I have no affinity for the Jurassic Park games except save the first Super Nintendo one. That's something my older brother really got into, but this is another one. I was missing the letter J in my collection. So, well, now I've got that. But one of the bangers that I felt that was a cool thing to pick up was Alien Isolation, the collection, which of course is the game along with all of the DLC. Each of these, all MSRP for $35. That's what I ended up paying for each of them. Also picked up my buddy Alex at Quality, whom I've done a couple collaborations with, physical copies of Persona 3 and 4, because they had a couple of them. They were going quick, and those were something that she was missing from her collection, so really glad to be able to help her out with that. And definitely really cool to be able to pick up some limited run gems. But as we're sort of rounding the turn here, I'm going to save what I feel is like the best for last. And to that end, I will show not the best, which is surprising because I'm going to hold it up, my complete in-box NES copy of Crystalis, which this is a absolutely fantastic action RPG game. I cannot recommend it enough. I was super jealous when David Vink, another YouTube content creator, fantastic creator, whom if you haven't subscribed to yet, just like Quality, I recommend doing. He's trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so definitely help him out with that. He picked up a physical copy of this earlier this year, I believe it was, at a convention. I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. I want that. He joined me in a collab, and in that collab, he had his box copy in frame. And I'm like, oh, I'm seeing what you're doing there. Now I've got my own physical copy. This is going on the wall. I'm gonna get those brackets where you can put the games and present them on the wall, as well as another game that I will show in a moment, but before I do, another really good pickup. I will also mention that Crystalis, I believe I paid like 80. No, I'm sorry. I believe that was 90. It was listed for 100. I talked him down to 90. It's missing the manual, though. I'm thinking I could probably snag that at another convention or at eBay somewhere. The next thing, though, is not only complete in box, it is brand new. That's Mega Man The Wily Wars. This is the issuance from Limited Run Games a couple years ago, and inside, of course, is a physical cartridge for the Sega Genesis containing Mega Man The Wily Wars. Why is that a big deal? Because we never got physical copies of the cartridge here in North America. PAL regions in Japan did, but here in the States and Canada, it was only available for download via the Sega channel. I played it for the first time like a year or two ago, and it was a surprisingly excellent Mega Man game that does the first 3 entries as well as the bonus mode that unlocks when you beat them. Such a great service. Can't recommend this enough. And of course, it's got a bunch of cool little additions, as well as like cards, I think stickers, as well as the container itself, or the box itself that Sega Genesis games come in. It was really cool to see this. So thank you, Jason the 13th, for pointing this out, because he picked this up, I want to say last year at Midwest Gaming Expo, and he was really happy to pick it up. And it was listed for 100. I was able to snag it for $80. And as you can see, it is completely sealed. It has not been opened. So really cool to have this. So the last pickup that I have is something that I realized I wanted to get and focus on Saturday after I looked more closely at my physical copy of Zelda 2. And I don't know if you guys can see the details so well, but it's a little scuffy on both sides of the cartridge. You may not be able to see it as well, but there's There's a couple like dark spots, and I think that's just from like general use and touch and what have you. Wasn't really thrilled with the quality of this, but that is why I hunkered down and focused on getting this. The Zelda 2 complete in box. Not only is it the perfect box itself, in decent condition. I mean, you can kind of see a couple little folds and whatnot, because it has been 35 years since this has come out, and with it being in this good a condition, that's a real testament to the previous owners. So not only is it in good condition, as we can see as I kind of take it out of the plastic case it was in. We're going to open this up and see of course, it comes with a manual. The manual, it's in decent condition. I would just say good because there's no tears, but it's seen use. But more importantly, the game is beautiful. There is not a single flaw with this version of the cartridge. I can't see any sort of scuffs or anything with this, and you kind of compare the two with my poor lighting. I apologize, fans. So I'm just really happy to see how well this looks, as well as having it complete in box. And this is going to be another game that's going on the wall here in the Inferno Fox / JMeowls game room. One of the things that I've learned when it comes to my various wheeling and dealing at these conventions is that you won't know unless you ask. So for this example, again, with this being listed for $110, I offered $80. Yeah, they could have laughed me right out of the convention center, or just simply said no, price stands. And maybe I would have picked it up, maybe I wouldn't have. Either way, I wouldn't have known if I didn't ask. And to that end, they sort of grudgingly accepted, which is kind of how the vendor did for this. But the important thing is that they accepted. I got the deal that I wanted. Am I there to make friends? Admittedly, no, I'm not. I'm there for shopping. I'm looking to increase my collection and do what I can within reasonable and legal rights to be able to find good deals for myself, because I guarantee you these collectors are doing the same. My buddy Run Jin Run has also mentioned, there's something real called the convention tax. Everything is more expensive than what it normally is there. But you pick things up live, you pick it up right then and there. You don't have to worry about anything like shipping or delays or being outbid by someone. It's all live, it's right there. So, and it was really cool to have these in hand, so that I could spend the rest of the trip and the flight home worrying about everything and getting it home. One last thing that I'll mention is that I spent a good amount of time over at the CanvasQuest booth there. And this vendor is on Etsy, and I love all the pins that they have. As you can tell, this is a pixelated version of Simon Belmont with the CanvasQuest logo done in the Castlevania style from the classic NES that, of course, Simon here is from. I went a little pin crazy. I ended up picking up 15 of these, but the vendor was really, really nice and gave me a 10% discount on these. $12 a piece. I know I'm crazy, but I have a plan for all of these. They're going to get displayed in the game room. I have a section committed for the NES ones that I got, because I went a little NES crazy. Regardless, it was really cool to pick those up. And overall, we had a great time. Had, as you can see, a number of really great pickups to add to the collection. So let me know in the comments section below some of your gets if you were at Too Many Games, or what games in my collection did you see that you would have liked to pick up for yourself. Love to start a discussion with you guys. Again, thank you so much for joining, and have a great day.